When you don't have 20 minutes to watch a full review and you're not looking for a how to play or an hour-long playthrough, and let's be honest, when the interest is a little lower too, that's why we have 6 small box games for you. Hey, I'm Alex Rackley from Board Game Co., and this is another 6 small box game roundup. 5.5 really, because I'm reviewing both of these Flashback games, and it's kind of similar opinions on the two. But either way, let's go ahead and dive into this. Starting off with, we'll work our way through this. We'll work our way through these. Let's start with Tranquility the Ascent. Tranquility Ascent is a new version of Tranquility. The basic idea, let's see how to describe this over here. Tranquility is a game in which you're going to be trying to create a sequence of 1 through 80, and you're trying to be mindful of the gaps because there's a cost to pay as you put cards next to each other. There's a few modules, a few expansions. It's an excellent game. I really recommend it a lot. I think it's amazing. Tranquility the Ascent is okay. It's kind of the same game system, but worse in my opinion. It's not bad, and it's nice for variety, but it's not as good. You see, in Tranquility the Ascent, at least to me, Tranquility the Ascent is going to have you working your way up a mountain. Instead of building just a sequence of numbers of 1 through 80, you're trying to build a bottom layer, then a next layer, then a next layer. It maintains the original mechanic of, as you place cards next to each other, you have to discard cards equal to the difference. So you're trying to be mindful of where the numbers go, and also certain numbers can't go at certain stages, so you're trying to plan around it. I just felt it was more punishing as far as the actual agency you have to place things out. It felt a lot more restrictive and therefore a lot less rewarding, not because the game's harder, I don't mind harder, but because your choices in the game were just much more limited. Now, to its credit, I thought the expansion modules were actually more interesting, so I like the game with the expansion modules a bit more. Like base Tranquility, I can play whenever, however, expansion modules make it better. Tranquility the Ascent, I don't think I'd ever play the base game again, because the base game is just worse than Tranquility. The expansion modules add some interesting decisions, like certain pathways up to the mountaintop that give you a little bit more crunchiness to it. Overall, my opinion of this is get Tranquility, don't get Tranquility the Ascent. If you have Tranquility and like Tranquility and want more Tranquility, Tranquility the Ascent is not bad for the sake of variety. But I think the original is just much better. So coming in at a 3.5 out of 5, it's not that that's a bad rating, it's just that the original game to me is just a better game. Coming in from there, let's go to Snatch It over here. Snatch It, coming to you from Heidelberg Games. This is a weird game of, I don't even know how to describe this one ideally, but you're basically going to be, let's zoom in and drop more over here. You're going to be trying to play cards to piles and then snatch them with other cards. You see, there's rules about which cards can snatch other cards, although the rules are very convoluted, which is going to be my biggest problem with this game. You see, at its heart, Snatch It is a light-hearted, fun party game. Draw cards, play cards, try to snatch piles, but there's 2 things wrong with it, and they're both big deals. The first is that I felt the rules of Snatch It were so convoluted relative to how complicated the actual game is. It's not a really complicated game. I've learned significantly harder games, but I'm looking for a fun little light filler game. I either want it to be incredibly rewarding or very easy to teach, or ideally both. And this is neither. This is not super easy to teach for a light filler party game, and it's not super rewarding, so it kind of is in this weird space where it's like, you're complicated and only so good. And then the other problem with it is there's a mechanic in the game, without getting too much into it, there's a mechanic in the game where you kind of randomly submit cards, and then depending how it goes out, you can lose your entire stack. And that it means that after all the rules, after all the understanding, after all the game not being super satisfying, you then could potentially just lose a ton of points just based off luck of what's drawn, which is really, really strange. I don't know. This is not a game for me. I'm going to come in at a 1.5 out of 5. That might seem very harsh, especially if you've enjoyed and liked this game, but for me, the combination of fiddly rules, the ability to just randomly lose a ton of points, and then just not being super rewarding on top of it, it's a 1.5. Not a game for me. I wonder if I'm missing something, because, I don't know. I wonder if I'm missing something. Snatch It, not a game for me, a 1.5 out of 5. Coming in on this side over here, we have Infiltrators. Infiltrators, coming to you from Pandasaurus Games, is a game of teamwork and cooperation as you try to figure out what cards are in the stack. You're kind of basically enemy spies have infiltrated the organization, you're trying to target them, but in order to do that, you're going to have these suits of cards of different numbers, and then you have certain rules. Let's see if I can show you this over here, because this will make more sense if I show it to you. But effectively, you're going to have a hand of cards, and you can play cards to either reveal information about the cards or to obscure information about the cards. So, for example, if we just grab a few cards over here, let's say I know that this is the card that's currently the suspect. So you're going to be gathering cards that are suspects and then trying to communicate to your teammates what's going on. I can play this card's face down, you don't know what it is, but I play this card over here and say, look, this card has something in common with those cards, which is great. You now know that the card is either black, or it's 3, or it's a multiple or divisor of 3, which can be any of these numbers. We don't know which one of those things that is, but you do know that if I go ahead and, I don't know, if I had a 3, this would be a bad card to play actually, by the way, but let's say I go ahead and play, let's play as 5, no, that's not going to help, let's play a 9. If I play a 9 over here, there's 12 over here, then you now know that this card has nothing in common with these cards. And because this card over here was a black 8, then we know that this one over here is telling us that it's not a blue card, and it's not a 2, 3, 4, 6, or 12. And so we know over here, this card says it could be a 3, but it can't be a 3 because of this one. It could be a 6, but it can't be a 6 because of this one. It could be a 9 still. It could still be a 9. It can't be a 12, so it could be a 9 or a 15 or a black card. That's what we now know. We know this is a 9, a 15, or a black card. You're trying to deliver this information through playing cards that will give hints towards your card or hints away from your card, or alternatively even giving them to your opponents or teammates, I guess your teammates, in order to try to figure out what cards are theirs. As you get sort of an inkling of what's going on, you can try to confirm or disprove your theories. The core idea is basically try to figure out the missing cards, try to deliver that information to your teammates, and try to do so by playing cards in order to guide information. I think the game, and it does so, by the way, by giving you a sequence of missions that will escalate in difficulty. So kind of think of the crew in the sense that you have like these 20 missions to go through that will give you more and more things, fewer and fewer bullets, more and more people, small rules adjustments. So there will be things that tweak up the gameplay. But ultimately, I thought that Infiltrators was not a bad experience, but similar to the way Tranquility the Ascent, I just would rather play Tranquility. I can't think of a single time I'd ever pull out Infiltrators over Expressions. Expressions just does it better. The only thing that Infiltrators does better than Expressions is the nature of the evolving gameplay that gives you more variety to the experience. So you play a game and then you try to play the next level and the next level. So it does have that, but the core gameplay, Expressions was cleaner, simpler, and just better done overall. So for me, Infiltrators, not a bad game, coming in at a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it, but I think there are just other games that either do the sequence of missions better, like the crew or the gang, or games that do that mechanic better, such as either games like Hanabi or Expressions. So that's going to be Infiltrators. From there, we have Turnip over here. Turnip's coming to you from, Turnip's coming to you from Keystone North America. No, that's not true. From Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, who have done Keystone North America. Turnip is, I don't even know how to describe this, bluffing. It's a bluffing game. You see, you're going to be planting turnips in the game, and you're going to go ahead and place cards, and you're going to try to announce a number, and players have to try to guess whether they are accurate or not, whether you've correctly planted the numbers that you've said you've planted. The problem is they know the distribution of numbers available, they know the fact that you're trying to get hidden points for maintaining high numbers, but you also can possibly get away by placing cards that if players call your bluff, then you go ahead and get, they'll gain a turnip and you'll lose one if they correctly call you, and you're ultimately trying to have the most turnip values in your field to be able to get points. So it's ultimately a game of trying to place cards down, occasional bluffing, calling people on the bluffing, and then seeing who got the most points from either cards left in the hand, from the reserve card, or from the cards they've played to the field. It's a cute little game, but again, this is actually a common trend for this video over here. I think I would just rather play Coup. I think Turnip felt like Coup, but more convoluted and less rewarding. Again, not a bad time. It's a fun game. I've enjoyed it, but it's not an amazing time either. It was an okay experience with the bluffing, which was fun. The bluffing aspect of, ooh, I played this, maybe not. That's fun, but there's just other games that just do it better, and the overall package was an okay attempt at a bluffing game that is not bad, but other games have done it better before and probably will do it better after. A 3 out of 5. And then lastly, we have Flashback Zombie Kidz, as well as Flashback Lucy. Both very much the same system, just one being a bit more difficult, one being a bit more friendly. The core idea of Flashback is you start with, and I think each of them come with 3, if I'm not mistaken, 3 cases if I recall correctly, but each of those cases are going to give you something going on. You start with some cards that give you points of view, and those points of view give you other cards, because now in one card you see a person looking at you. So now you can jump to their point of view, where they now see you, which is a card that exists already, but they also see behind you, and they see the axe murderer holding an axe behind you, and now you can jump to that point of view. So you can keep jumping to different points of view that will give you more and more of a breakdown of what's going on in this case. And so think of it as kind of jumping through points in time of the crime scene, if you want to call it crime scene, the case, as you go from person to person to try to establish different points of view and to ultimately answer the questions that the cases throw at you. So you have these core questions: who done it? Why did they do it? What was going on in the lab? Whatever those questions are, they're giving you these kind of breakdowns towards a case, and then you moving from point of view to try to figure out the answers to those cases. Flashback Zombie Kidz is the first one I played. I went through the 3 cases over here. I think it's a cute, charming system that is far more about the adventure you go on than any strong sense of mystery. For the most part, I didn't think that there was a lot of real whodunit. There's a little bit of logic. Well, okay, well, because this is where they defer a bit. Flashback Zombie Kidz is much more about the journey, answering questions, and that's it. There might be a small amount of actual deduction or logical reasoning going on, but for the most part, if you follow the story, if you're playing it at a halfway decent level, you'll be able to establish exactly what happened. It's still an enjoyable experience, but it's light on the actual mystery. But this is more kid-friendly, and I'm saying this as an adult who has played it with kids, but I don't know what it would be like if, you know, if you're 8-year-olds, if you had an 8, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and they were all playing it together with no adults, it might be an actual challenge. I don't know, because I haven't done that. But as far as Flashback Lucy had you involved with a bit more actual logic. So you still had to do this jumping around point of view system, so that was still the basis for the cases. But at the end of it, there's more logic as far as, okay, well, there's a question that's being asked, and I'm not as clear on the answer, because it might be this, I feel like it's this, and that's where there are some clues and hints throughout the various pictures or parts of the puzzle you're exploring, where there's actually a bit more of a mystery going on. So I think Flashback Lucy did a bit more. Ultimately, my rating for both of them is going to be the same, a 3.5 out of 5, but more just know your audience. This is a bit more kid-friendly, this is a bit more actual logic going on, but in both cases, I thought that they were an interesting take on the escape room genre that was more about the process than the puzzle, but Flashback Lucy at least came with some degree of puzzle to it. And that's what you have over here. These are your 6 small box game reviews. We have Snatch It coming in at a 1.5 out of 5, just way too much fiddliness and way too much luck on losing points on a system that was not rewarding enough. We have Tranquility Ascent, which is fun, but Tranquility did it better. We have Infiltrators, which is fun, but Expressions did it better. We have Turnip, which was fun, but Coup did it better. And we have Flashback Zombie Kidz and Flashback Lucy that are both fun, different takes on the escape room genre that I think are more about the exploration and a little less so on the deduction, but still fun, just not necessarily best in class. Coming in at a 3.5 out of 5 on those. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, these reviews helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.